I'm in need of a great big grin. I know where to go for some oxytocin when the whole world seems to be cold and mean. I know who to call for some dopamine. I'll be your Lucy, you'll be my Ethel. I'll be the Thelma, you'll be Louise, and we'll ride together till we reach the rainbow's end. Thank you for being my friend.
Welcome to Anatomy of Friendship, Season 2, Episode 12. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Kel. Welcome back.
I know
We're back.
we're back. It's been a long minute, but we have so much to talk about. The title of today's show is Trust the Path. And I've got a story to tell about that. But Joe, is there anything you want to say before I dive into this long ass ramble? No?
Yeah, you're frozen, first of all. Okay, you're a little
Oh,
frozen. Okay,
no.
yes, I wanna say, our season 2, we're really wanting to focus on sort of the tools. Like the first season 1 was about the rules of friendship, and now season 2 is about talking about the tools we use in friendship and in life and in all relationships, which we hope are your friendships as well. And so Kelly was just in Italy, and oh my God, the Trust the Path name of our episode, it just is so perfect for her to share this story that happened in Italy. And I cannot wait to hear it. So, and for you to illuminate like how quickly, this is the theme I'm interested in a lot lately, is how quickly can we adjust to what is and complain less. Like notice what I'm working on is notice my complaints and how quickly can I transform my complaint to trusting what is, accepting what is. I don't know about trusting, but accepting what is right now as fast as possible and narrowing the gap between what is and my resistance to what is. And I feel like you are a master at this. And the story about Italy shows like you could be in these really difficult situations, and as fast as you can accept what is and then look for the miracle, then that's sort of the punchline to trusting the path. And so I feel like people are going to learn a lot through mapping themselves onto your story. So please tell us about your wild and harrowing adventures in Italy getting home late at night.
Oh my God. Okay, so I was just in Italy, as Joey said, and um, the last time I was in Italy, I was with Dana, but also Gypsy, and you've heard me slash us talk about Gypsy. She's one of my besties, great dearest, bestie, and she passed away 4 years ago. Her favorite place on planet Earth was Italy, and her favorite place on in Italy was Cortona. And if you've ever seen Under the Tuscan Sun with Diane Lane, it's Cortona is the centerpiece of that movie. It is absolutely enchanted, a walled city up on the hill. It's absolutely glorious. And so I was there with Gypsy last time, and she was so full of life and so full of vigor and so full of joy. I was like, wow, Gypsy is Italian in her spirit. So when she passed away, I had this thought that I want to bring some of her ashes to Cortona. And of course, I couldn't find her ashes before I left it because her, just like Gypsy, she was, excuse me, last bit of COVID going on in my throat. Anyway, but I knew I needed to get there. I decided because I couldn't find her ashes that went scallywagging along somewhere, I took one of the necklaces she gave me and I thought I'm going to find a place to put it in Cortona. And I just had to, it felt like a mission from God to get to Cortona. So while I was in Lucca with Dana and our friend Filippo, they were creating this beautiful album, working with all these great kirtan musicians. I decided this was like the perfect day to get away when they didn't need me for anything. Our friend Kathy, who was in Cortona, could be there to meet me and kind of be an anchor piece. And she also loved Gypsy, and she would help me find a place for this necklace. So it just was like Sunday, I'm going to Cortona. And I had all the trains all mapped out. And first leg of the journey, one train comes in late. I end up having to hitchhike for the first time in my life to catch the train to Cortona. Anyway, I end up in Cortona. It's beautiful. Here's a little aside while I'm there. Me and Kathy are looking all over in these beautiful old buildings that Gypsy used to love, like a planter, a little crag between the rocks to put this necklace. And finally, I look at Kathy and I'm like, I know the perfect place to put Gypsy's necklace around your neck. You are Italy. You are one of Gypsy's dear friends. You should have this piece of Gypsy. And she was in tears. I was in tears. We were in the middle of the big piazza in Cortona, and it was like so sacred. Everything just felt charmed. Like this trip just felt so special. So it's time for me to go back. And the first leg of the train is fine. Second leg of the journey is delayed by like 2 hours. And I realize I'm not going to catch my connecting train back to Lucca. So Dana's like, Kelly, there's no way we can't get you. You're hours away from here. You're going to have to book a hotel. So I booked a hotel. Only when I arrived at the little town, there's no Ubers and no cabs to take me. And there's nobody because it's getting late. It's like almost 11 o'clock. And it turns out, God, I'm talking really fast. I'm just trying to get to the punchline here. Turns out
No,
people
you're
don't
doing good. Yeah.
travel. People don't travel much in Italy. I mean, on a Sunday. Sunday is like family time. So nobody's out. Finally, somebody who had heard me trying to get some help whispered to me, that bus way over there, it's going to Lucca. I bet you they'll take you if you run. So I'm running. I finally jump on the bus, beg them in my English. They're speaking Italian. They finally come on in. They let me come on the bus. I'm like, hallelujah. So I'll at least arrive in Lucca at 1 a.m, but at least I'll be closer to my final destination, which is only about 15, maybe 20 minutes from the train station. So on my way, I'm noticing my phone is getting like the battery is going from 18% low. It's just like on a race down to zero. So I still have a little bit. I finally arrive in Lucca. Okay. And there's some people who read my book, A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste, know that I had a similar debacle in Milan a few years ago where we were at a train station after it closed down, and we had 1,000 pounds of luggage and nowhere to go. We were just sitting there in the middle of an island. So that's another story to read about in A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste. This is a new story. This just happened 2 weeks ago or less. So there I am in my bright blue dress, cleavage galore, which I'm like, oh God, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm by myself in the middle of the train station, and there's no one around except for a few people that seem like they're drunk or on drugs or high or whatever. Because mostly Lucca is a very safe town, but any town at 1 o'clock in the morning, it's like the creeps come out at night, freaks come out at night, anywhere. So I'm not feeling all that safe. And I keep trying to hit my Uber app and it keeps saying unresponsive. I keep trying to dial this. There's a little sign that has all these phone numbers for taxi cabs. I keep trying to dial it and it goes to nowhere. It just like they hang up on me. So I finally just program in my GPS. I'm going to walk to my final destination. I'm just going to figure out how to walk there. And
To the
okay.
hotel?
To Filippo's house where we were supposed to go and where we were staying. So, and I know my phone's going to die before I get there and I'm going to be lost. But so here's the point. The point is I was like, okay, I kept hearing trust the path, but I could feel my heart racing out of my chest. I could feel my palms sweating, my voice, my throat getting dry, and I was like, "What is going on with me? Oh, this is fear. this is probably an appropriate place for fear. This fear is trying to have my senses be on high alert so that I don't get hurt and so that I can find help. And I'm noticing that, so the people that had been on the bus with me before they dropped me off, I had been saying, like, does anybody know of anybody with a car? And everyone's like, no, sorry, sorry. So here's where I was like, okay, this is where the trust the path comes in, and calling in the art of navigation, which I'll talk about in a moment. In the art of navigation, basically, it's like just to follow where the energy leads. And it's easy to do when you're just on a fun little walkabout in the middle of daylight with plenty of friends around you. But when you're by yourself in a foreign country where you don't know anybody and there's no one around, this is like the perfect place where every woman should never be. So I just was like, okay, kept hearing trust the path. And so I began to just walk in the direction of where I'm supposed to go. And I see these men, and I love men, but drunk anybody is probably not the best. So I'm like, nope, not them, not them. And the people on the bus already left. But finally out of like nowhere, I see two men and a woman. And it was so funny. In my delirious state, just the sight of a woman felt like, she won't kill me. I will be safe with a woman. I will bond with a woman. And out of the three of them, she was the least interested. But one of the men was like, he spoke a little English. And for the next hour, he stuck with me, calling the cabs over and over. They would answer and then hang up, answer, hang up, answer, hang up. Unbelievable. Finally, we get one guy, he says, "I'll be there in 25 minutes." And I'm like, "Oh my God," just as my phone is about to die. So I send him the address of where I needed to go so that he can show the cab driver. So it was all very much like, ah. So finally, 20 minutes later, true to his word, the cab driver rolls up and takes me where I need to go. Okay, so the point of the whole story is, and I'm kind of missing a few pieces here, but I'll backtrack. Our dear friend who we were staying with, I could have begged him to pick me up in the middle of the night, but he has a sensitive health situation and he needed his sleep. He had a full production the next day. He wasn't offering to give me a ride. So, according to the art of navigation, now I'm going to go back into that for a second. Carlos Castaneda, the late great wisdom keeper who put shamanism on the
Shaman.
map. Yeah, he was the teacher of a friend of mine, Felix Wolf. Felix was one of his sort of disciples. And he said that of all the teachings that Carlos Castaneda taught to his followers, the art of navigation, according to Felix, was the most important, the most powerful, the most usable, the one that he used every second of every day of his life. And the idea behind the art of navigation, and in fact, that's the name of Felix Wolf's book, The Art of Navigation. It's where you trust life. You trust that you're within a living universe you treat it like it's alive because it is. And you treat it like it's a dance partner. And you're not leading the dance, but there's an energy and it's guiding you. It's moving you from right to left, from side to side. And when you sync up with it, when you get in sync with the art of navigation, you become led to who the right person is, who the right situation, where to go. And he said that it would get to the place where there was absolutely no effort. You and I, Joey, talk about for fun and for free, which is very much correlated to not wanting to put people out, not wanting to be put out, but being in that sweet spot, that zone. So the art of navigation correlates to this. And he would say that when you would follow this to the letter, like it was a religion, he said that it got to the point where you would think of a person, anybody, and they would show up or they would call. And you would say, wow, I'm really hungry for Hungarian goulash. And all of a sudden somebody would walk by and say, hey, I have some extra Hungarian goulash. Do you want some? like every green light on the road, there was no efforting in life. It was like you got in sync with the sweet spot of life. And it was all about trusting the signs, trusting the people. So in some way, I noticed myself in this situation that I could have forced something. I could have forced our friend Filippo. I could have forced the people on the bus to some degree, but it felt like that wasn't in the art of navigation, and there was some part of me that just had to trust that the right person or the right people would show up at the right time, and eventually they did, and I was safe, unscathed. I made it home. Okay, in the few minutes that we have, because this is a little short show, just to get our toes back in the water of season 2. Joey, I pass the talking baton back to you. Any thoughts? What does this bring up for you around trusting the path?
Okay, if I had lots of time, I would reflect everything that you said because I'm in awe of your process and how beautifully you navigated all of it in the story about Gypsy. And I'm so happy that the necklace is on, her friend's neck
Kathy.
and that you
Yeah.
saw that your friend was Gypsy's, was Italy, Kathy, she was Italy, and she would take
Yeah.
Gypsy all around Italy. So I love that. So I would spend all
Yeah.
my time acknowledging everything that you said, but with limited amount of time, um, I want to say that my mom is masterful at the art of navigation. My
Madeline Weber.
mom my mom, Madeline Weber, she drove away today from her home where she's been living for the last 4 years with her friend Melanie. She's been living with Melanie for 15 years. They've been friends and life partners, and Melanie died suddenly last month. And my mom and Melanie paid more rent than my mom, and my mom supplied help and love, and like they were just a great partnership. But now my mom can't afford a home on $800 Social Security, and someone gave my mom a car. She had no car. And so what I'm saying is, and the movie Robots, the Pixar movie Robots, or is it Disney?
Ooh.
See a need, fill a need. That's the slogan of the robot like manufacturer that this movie's about. See a need, fill a need. So my mom speaks a need and then she gets her needs fulfilled. I, on the other hand, am scared to death. My mom is had to drive away. She sold all of her belongings. She put everything, the rest of what she's got in a car, and she drove away today from Florida. And she's just driving to friends' houses and has no idea where she's going to land, has no home base. I am freaking out because I like to plan and I like to know and I like to think ahead. And my mom sticks herself into the flow, and partially because she's amazingly faith-filled and partially because what else is there to do? Like, she could resist or she could flow and have faith, and my mom chooses to flow and have faith. So I'm over here having a ton of stress because I'm like, she's my mom, and shouldn't I this and shouldn't I that, and what's she going to do? And I'm like, wait a minute, last time I did that about my mom, 3 days later she had a home. So like, am I going to fill the space with fear, or am I going to trust in the path? She is trusting in the path. Why am I fearing for her path and trying to fix and mess with her path? Because I'm a recovering codependent. But so I just want to say, like, I actually feel like you are masterful at trusting the path. And when I heard the
Mm.
story that you had to find a way home, I knew you were going to be okay. Like, I knew you were going to be okay. Of course, I found out about it through you. So I already had the punchline.
Okay.
But like, that's who you are to me also. You make magic happen. And with just a couple of minutes left, I'll just say, years and years and years and years ago, I used to trust the path by saying, be a bear about it, because I'm a Winnie the Pooh lover. And Winnie the Pooh would just kind of
That.
lump around, and then the thing he needed would show up, which reminds me of the book, The Mutant Message Down Under, because there's a whole tribe of
Oh,
Aborigines that used to just follow. Like, they knew if they needed food, it would show up, even if it was just a couple of caterpillars. They knew if they needed water, it would show up, even if it was just a few drips. And they trusted it, believed it, saw its evidence. They collected evidence like, oh, here it is. Here it is. They literally lived that way. So one day I went to work and I'm leaving work and I realize I can't find my keys. And I go to my car and I'm like, I wonder if I left my keys in my car. Oh yeah, I left my keys in my car and they were in the ignition and my car was on all day long for 9 hours while I was at work, running. So I'm like, and I thought this was masterful of me. I'm like, be a bear about it. And I went lumping around. I'm like, maybe I can find a hanger. It was back when you can actually like use a hanger to open your car doors. So I look around and I'm walking in an alley. I'm like, oh, there's a hanger. And I went and got the hanger and I went, oh, and I opened my own car door and I was being a bear about it. So that could be the subtitle to this. Trust the path, be a bear about it. So,
Oh, that's so
I
good.
met the situation with trust instead of fear. And I looked for what the next flow was. And you looked for what the next flow was. And you got home at 2 a.m, but you got home.
I did.
And
I
I know we
did.
need to close now because you have an
We
important
do, but
meeting. So
yeah.
what do you want to say to close?
I want to say that if you're watching or listening in real time, we're in the midst of a pretty intense political moment in our country. And this isn't a political show. We think friendship should be for everyone. But we do have very strong political ideas. Anyway, my husband called one of his friends today who happens to work behind the scenes in one of the political campaigns. And he said, what's going on with you in the midst of all of this? And this guy happens to be very spiritual. And he responded from a very spiritual place. And Dana was like, God darn it, I wanted to get his human boots on the ground self. But what he said was, when I zoom way, 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 way out, I'm filled with peace. I am filled like it's all beautiful. It's all beautiful. And I think we Dana and I just watched the movie To the Moon. Is it To the Moon? It was with Scarlett Johansson and something Fly Me to the Moon. And from that moon perspective, like there's nothing to not trust. There's like we're not orchestrating this universe. We're not causing the breathing to happen in these contraptions. We're not making the blood flow. Oh my God, we're part of a bigger system that is beautiful. And there are things that do fall apart sometimes, but do they really fall apart? Maybe they fall apart so that we can put them together in a new way. So I think we have no choice but trust the path. Or at least I have no trust. The more I trust it, the more it reveals
We can
itself. And yeah,
resist, but yeah, resisting is a choice too. But
exactly.
nice way to
knock
end.
everything
Okay.
over. Exactly.
Just
On that
trust
note.
the path. Just trust it.
Exactly. Just
It's
trust it.
okay.
Bam. Everything works out. It does. Thank you so much for joining us. We have so many more shows coming up. So if you haven't subscribed, please do all that stuff. And until we all meet again, thank you for being our friend.
Thank you for joining us on Anatomy of Friendship.
If this has been helpful to you, or if you have questions or comments,
Please share them with us at anatomyoffriendship.com.
if you haven't yet, take a moment to follow, like, and subscribe to our show.
And don't forget to share it with a friend or two or a few.
Special shout out to Dana Walden at Love Hub Productions for being our engineer, producer, and for writing our friendship song.
And Karina Grandma for being the voice of our song. Take it away, Karina.
Thank you